Garret from Garret's Guitar Lessons here, and today I'm going to be talking about Tritone Substitution Soloing. Now, if you don't know anything about tritone substitutions, be sure to check out the video in the description below, in which I give a good primer video on tri-substitutions as a whole. Today I'm mostly going to be focusing it on a soloing context. Now my example today is going to be in the key of C, so I'm going to have a D minor 7, G7, and C major 7. The idea here is that behind me is going to be a G7 chord, but I'm going to be thinking about soloing over that using a D flat 7 chord. Alright, now that is that tritone right there. Now what's neat about this is, well, I'm going to go through it in a couple different positions and using arpeggios and scales, but for right now I'm just going to start from the 5th string, 5th fret for my D minor 7, 5th string, 4th fret for my D flat 7, and then 5th string, 3rd fret for my C major 7. Alright, now I'm just going to start with arpeggios right here. Now just to kind of get used to it, we could try it without a backing track and just go, one, just right on through that arpeggio. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ascend the D minor 7 and then descend the D7 arpeggio. So now I'm going to go to like a, so that was my A minor shape, I'm going to go to an A shape, kind of like an A alt shape right there. And then I'm going to be going to a C major 7 shape with like an A shape right there. Alright, now for that C major 7 I actually did the whole things. But the idea here is just to get used to just going ascending one, descending another one, and then ascending the next one right there. In my first video about tritone substitutions talked about how the chords kind of fit together. Let's take a look at the D flat 7 through the lens of G7. So while the chord in the background is playing a G7, we're going to be playing a D flat 7. Now how do those chord tones react to the G root? Alright, so that D flat is going to be my flat 5, the 3rd of my D flat is going to be the flat 7 of my G, a flat 9, then the 3rd, and flat 5, flat 7, flat 9, and then 3rd again. So what's kind of nice about this is that we're getting some in tones from the arpeggio, mainly the flat 7 and the 3rd, but we're also getting some out tones, for example, that flat 5 and that flat 9. So it's a great way to kind of bounce between some kind of in and out chord tones right there. Now when we do put this to a backing track, it's going to be a lot tougher. Why? Because we're going to have to have the backing track keeping time for us. So what's important here is we want to try maybe just ascending one, ascending the other one, and just all ascending, try all descending, and we want to try kind of weaving in and out of them. So for example, ascending that D minor 7, descending the D flat 7, and then ascending that C major 7. So that was everything on the 5th string. Now if we do everything on the 6th string, it'd be the same, but just our roots would change. So now we're going to have my D minor 7, and it's arpeggio found on the 6th string, 10th fret, my D flat 7, and go to the E alt shape right there. And that's going to be found on the 9th fret, 6th string, and then go to a C major 7 on the 8th fret right there. And same thing with the 5th string. We want to try all ascending, all descending, and then flip-flopping between them. So when we do play to a 2-5-1 backing track, we have a good idea of how we can move between those couple different arpeggios. Now another neat thing is try weaving between the 6th and the 5th string root arpeggios. So we could go with a 5th string for my D minor 7, a G7 shape for my D flat 7, and then a 6th string, an E alt shape for my C major 7 right there. Now what's neat about that is that I'm trying to keep things within a certain fret range, so that way we're not kind of flying all over the fretboard trying to match our arpeggio shapes right there. And when we move to working scales within it, we want to be thinking about kind of that D Dorian for my 2 chord, and then for that flat 5, that tritone substitution right there, I'm going to be using my Lydian Dominant scale. This is a great use of the Lydian Dominant scale, and what it does is, just like the arpeggio, gives us some in and out tones on how it reacts to our G7 right there. So I have that flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, a lot of flats right there. A root, flat 9, flat 3, regular 3, major 3, and then back to our flat 5 again, right? So each of those chord tones, we're getting some that actually react perfectly to our G7, and then some that are kind of out. So it's a good way of kind of sidestepping around that G7 chord, and then to our C major 7 scale right there. Or if you're feeling really frisky, a Lydian scale, C Lydian scale. Now, just like with the arpeggios, we want to try all ascending, all descending those scales, and then try weaving in and out of them. So you could try all ascending on that D, and then we can go to descending, and then ascending that C major 7. So I ascended the D minor, the D Dorian scale, descended that D flat Lydian dominant scale, and then ascended that C major 7. Again, if that's tough, try just ascending or just descending. Just like with the arpeggios, we want to keep the roots as close together as we can. That way we can weave in and out of these scales and make sure our lines sound musical. So we could try just the 5th string roots with our chords. We could try just the 6th string roots with our chords. So I want E minor shape for my D Dorian, an E minor alt shape or an E alt shape for my Lydian dominant from the D flat, and then just like an E shape for my C major scale right there. Or I could weave in and out between the 5th and the 6th strings by going D minor 7 on the 5th string, and then a kind of a G shape for my Lydian dominant scale for D flat, and then E alt shape for my C major scale. Again, the idea there is to keep everything within a certain amount of frets, so that way we're not kind of reaching all over for all these different sounds. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. If you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Also, check out Garret'sGuitarLessons.com for more free lessons and resources. I have PDF of everything I covered today, and even backing tracks to help practice soloing using our tritone substitutions. Thanks so much, and see you next time.